Today, you're going to learn how to double your open rates and stay out of the spam folder. Why is that important? Well, you can spend all the time you want creating the best emails, the best strategy in the entire world. But if your emails land in the spam folder, then what's the point? You're just wasting your time and resources and money, etc. The first thing we do once we onboard a new client is making sure their sender reputation, their deliverability is on point, because if we start crafting emails, again, cracking on the content creation, email strategy flows, but they again land in the spam folder, then we're just wasting our time. So it is extremely important to make sure you're hitting the inbox folder before you focus on the content creation and the strategy itself. So in today's video, I'm gonna walk you through the step-by-step process we use to make sure you improve your deliverability, and by extension, you double your open rates and make more money with email marketing. So with that being said, let me dive right into it. So is your deliverability and sender reputation in a bad position right now? So of course, if we're gonna fix deliverability, we have to make sure that it is actually damaged, right? So the first sign, the biggest one I'd say, is if your weekly campaigns have open rates below 20%, that's a huge sign that, of course, you're hitting the spam folder, right? If your campaigns used to be 40, 50% and they drop to like 20, 25, sub 20%, of course, you have damaged deliverability, and of course, a open rate of below 20%, it is extremely low. So that's where most of your focus should be, again, fixing that before sending more campaigns, right? So first sign is campaign open rates have dropped to 25, 20%, sub 20% as well. Another one, of course, is, you see sometimes when you send like campaigns, your campaigns might look like they have healthy open rates, like 40, 35, 40, 45%. But sometimes some inbox providers, for example, let's say you're sending campaigns and then they have like 40, 45%, but out of that 45%, like Hotmail Outlook is getting 50, 55% open rates on average, but your Gmail audience is getting like 20, 25%, right? That sometimes happens where some inbox providers are facing some issues when it comes to the deliverability. And of course, like in this example, Gmail being the main one, it is really important to make sure that's optimized as well. So how do we know if some of the inbox providers, i.e. Gmail, Outlook, Yahoo, whatever, are damaged? So you have to go to your Klaviyo account right here. You scroll down to analytics, dashboards. You go to overview dashboard, which is the default one. And then you should add this card to the dashboard. So you click here, add card, and then you should see this card right here, which is email deliverability by domain. And then on the time frame, you could do like 90 days. 90 days is fine. And then you'll see like some inbox providers are quote unquote not as optimal as the other ones. For example, in this case, Hotmail is better than Gmail. Even though Gmail is not terrible, like 41% is not bad, it is not as good as the other ones, right? So let's say Gmail is 20% in this case, right? Then what you should do, and I'm gonna of course cover this a little bit later in the video, is send to a segment of Gmail people only, essentially, and then besides that to a very tight segment, engaged segment of Gmail people. In a nutshell, that's what you do. So engage 15 days for a couple of, like 4 campaigns or a couple of weeks or so. If metrics improve, you broaden that up. So 30 days and then 60 and then 120 and then 180. It's pretty much kind of the same process as if your entire deliverability was damaged. If your entire deliverability is damaged, then at that point, you do the same thing, but not for Gmail people only, but for your entire engaged segments. You start with engage 15 days. You do that for, again, a couple of weeks or so, 30 days, 60 days, 120, and 180. But that's another point for a later discussion we're going to have later in this video right here. But essentially, that's how you identify damage deliverability for a specific domain or inbox provider, right? And then the final sign, of course, is the Google Postmaster, which is a great tool for domain reputation, health, etc. You can see exactly how that's looking, of course, mostly for Gmail. Only for Gmail. But Gmail is the main inbox provider in the entire world. So gives you a pretty good idea of what your reputation is looking like. Sender reputation is looking like right now. Okay, so that's how you identify damaged reputation or sender reputation, essentially. Now, these are the common reasons why your deliverability is screwed. So these are pretty much the mistakes most brands actually make, and they don't even know it, or they just don't pay attention to the metrics, right? First things first is if your campaigns suck and they have low engagement rate, so open rates plus click rates, and you keep sending people emails with those very low metrics, then that's going to result in poor deliverability, because you'll be seen as a spammer in the inbox provider's eyes. If you don't bring any value, if people don't really open your emails or click in your emails, then of course that means people are not interested. Your content sucks, or whatever, or you're not doing any segmentation. That's going to damage your deliverability in the long run for sure. So that's one, and that's, I would say, the biggest one. Second one is high spam rates. So this one is pretty straightforward. If people hate your email, you emailing them, you'll be marked as a spammer, as a spam, right? If that happens too often, so above like around 0.01%, you'll lead your sender reputation on fire. If again you keep sending very bad, like ugly, non-valuable, boring, non-educational content to your audience, and they keep marking you as spam too often, then of course that's going to damage your reputation 100%, which is again pretty straightforward. Hopefully you know that by now, and again you focus on content creation, which is one thing we'll cover later in this video as well. But that's the second reason why. Third main reason is because of unsubscribe rates, and of course these are pretty intertwined, if you will. This pretty much all comes down to having great content, right? So yeah, third, high unsubscribe rates. So although this is not as damaging as a high spam rate, too many people, so above 0.3%, unsubscribing from your email list too frequently can impact your sender reputation negatively, of course. So again, if your content sucks, people don't like it, they just don't take anything away from it, they'll unsubscribe. And if that happens too often, too much, then again, that's gonna basically damage your sender reputation. So these are the main reasons why, and this is kind of important to note, because if you know these reasons, you'll be focusing on the most important things when it comes to having great content and stuff like that, and most importantly, understanding your audience, what they want, what they're looking like, besides your products themselves, how to use your products, like all these solutions, tips, content that actually brings value to their lives. Even though most people don't read, they really appreciate you taking the time to create content that's actually educational and that actually provides value, right? Otherwise, again, you'll face a low engagement rate, high spam rates, and then high unsubscribe rates. And segmentation is another very important thing that we'll cover later. But that's pretty much the reasons why your deliverability is screwed right now, okay? So moving on, I want to stop wasting your time and resources. What do I mean by that? The reason why deliverability is so important is because it doesn't matter how good your email copy, design, segmentation, and overall email strategy is. If your emails consistently land in the spam folder, then you're completely wasting your time and leaving a lot on the table. So before focusing on content ideation and strategy, focus on making sure your deliverability is on point. And this is something I mentioned before, is like, make sure your deliverability is dialed in before you focus on content creation and strategy, right? And this is kind of a small illustration here, just showing you how important this is, and how big the impact is, right, when it comes to these things. So we've got like two situations right here, two brands, if you will. They both have the same AOV. They so a $100 AOV. They both have the same list size, which is 50K, right? Let's say this is an engaged segment, so 50K people in there. Now, the main difference is, like, for the situation number one, brand number one, the open rate is 20% because their deliverability is damaged, right? For the other one, is 40%, which is not bad. Of course, not the best one out there, but it's not bad whatsoever, right? So that means in this first scenario, 10K people opened it, so 1% click rate. Second scenario, 20K. We've got the same click rate, so 1,000 people, 2,000 people here, and the same place order rate. So 50 people order from this email, And then in this case, same place order rate, but in this case, it was like 100 people ordered because we've got more people opening, and that actually results in more people finally like placing the order, right? So we've got like $5,000 generated, and in this case, of course, double, which is 10K. And the only difference here is the difference in open rates. So 20% versus 40%. And the main reason why is because of deliverability, right? There are some sending to the engaged segment, but they both have different situations when it comes to their sender reputation, okay? So as you can see, of course, the impact of having great deliverability is huge. And again, that's where your initial focus should be, right? Making sure this is completely dialed in and optimized as well. Now, with that being said, let me dive into the juicy stuff right here. So how to double your open rate. So the first step, which is pretty common sense, is making sure you fix your deliverability, right? Now, we've got two situations right here. The first one is if the damage is across the board, then that's one situation. Second situation is if the damage is on a specific inbox provider, which is something I mentioned before. Let's say in this case, it's gonna be like Gmail or Outlook, whatever. Well, in this case, I actually took Hotmail, Outlook as the damage inbox providers. But let's say, for example, for the first situation, we've got like damage across the board. So situation number one, right? So damage across the board. So all the inbox providers are pretty much screwed, right? And then situation number two, sorry, which is going to be if a specific inbox provider is damaged, right? Now, if the damage is across the board, so all the campaigns, let's say all the campaigns have a very, very like 20-25% open rates, and then you come here and you see they're pretty much all screwed, then what you should do is create, first things first, an engage 15 days segment. So how to create that? Let's create that right now. Segments right here. Create segment. YouTube demo. Engage 15 days, right? So if someone can or cannot receive marketing, let's do first the conditions. When someone has or not done. So active on site, at least one in the last 15 days. Or open an email at least once in the last 15 days, or click an email at least once in the last 15 days, or place an order as well at least once in the last 15 days, right? And then these people if can receive email marketing, and then that's the 15 days engage segment. You create that. You send at least like 4 campaigns to this specific segment. If metrics improve, so if they go from like, let's say 20% open rates all the way to like 30, 40, 50, you broaden this up to, instead of like doing 15 days, you do 30 days. You do that again, the same process for like 4 campaigns. If metrics improve, you keep bumping that up to like 60 days later. And then after that, 120 days, and then finally 180 days. And at that point, you should be seeing like, again, healthy open rates. And that actually means you fix your deliverability, okay? Now, situation number 2, if the damage is on a specific inbox provider, what you need to do is pretty much the same process, but targeting the specific inbox provider's audience, if that makes sense. So first things first, let's create the for example, in this case, let's say Gmail is damaged. It's going to be easier, right? Because that's the example I used previously. So let me replace this right here. God damn. Okay. So let's say Gmail is damaged for this specific client, right? So first things first, we need to create, let me number these right here. Oh, when I use numbers, man, fuck. Okay, whatever. My bad. Never mind. So let's create the Gmail segment first. So the Gmail segment looks like this. Gmail, right? And the reason why we want to create this segment is because we want to exclude people from the regular campaigns. We want to exclude the Gmail people from all the regular campaigns, okay? So properties about someone, if email equals contains and then value Gmail, And that's pretty much how you target people with Gmail accounts, right? Then create that one. That's your first step. Second step is to create the engage 15 days segment for future campaigns. So that's Gmail. Let's create engaged 15 days for Gmail. And it looks like this. So pretty much the same conditions as previously, but in this case, we are not going to use like active on site or place order as a condition because we cannot target people using Gmail for those specific metrics, if that makes sense. So we'll only use open rates, also opens, and then clicks, right? So we do open email at least once in the last 15 days. And then this filter right here where email domain equals Gmail, right? Or clicked at least once in the last 15 days. And then where email domain equals Gmail, right? Same thing pretty much. And then here, and this is in and, can receive email marketing, and then we create that segment. So that's the second step. The third step is pretty simple. Let's say you're sending a campaign tomorrow. You basically exclude the Gmail segment that we just created. So with these conditions right here, right? Or in this case, it's Outlook and Hotmail, but it's pretty much the same, but with Gmail. You exclude your campaign, your people from this segment, next campaign you send, and then you duplicate the same campaign, and then you send to the this engage segment of that specific inbox provider. That way, we don't send to all the Gmail people, but only to very segmented people of Gmail, right? And then you do that for like the 4 next campaigns. If metrics improve, again, you bring this up to like 30 days. If that improves, you bump it up to like 60, 120, and then 180. And then that's how you recoup your deliverability essentially for this specific inbox provider. If metrics don't improve, then you just keep sending you just keep sending the same segment until that improves, right? It might not improve with the first, like with the four campaigns. It might be like 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, who knows, right? Depends on the conditions and the current situation. And that's essentially how you fix your sender reputation overall. Okay, so hopefully this makes sense. This is really important. This is kind of the first step to, well, making sure improving your open rates and again, making more money with your emails. Second step is have great content, right? It might be quite like common sense, but nowadays common sense is not as common, right? So what you need to do to create a specific, like very powerful email calendar is follow the next steps and utilize the next following strategy. So look at holidays and national days, right? Look at niche, like for example, Labor Day was just like last weekend. Look at niche celebrations, social proof campaigns. That's another one to use. So these are the kind of the main content buckets you can utilize, and you can create your calendar around that. Again, aim to send between 8 to 12 campaigns a month at least, right? Depends on your brand size. If you're doing more than 100K per month right now, or like 200K per month right now, I would actually bump this up to like 3 campaigns a week for sure, like 3 or 4 campaigns a week. If you're doing below 100K per month, then like 2 to 3 campaigns is totally fine as well. But these are the strategies we actually utilize. So look at holidays, national days, like Labor Day, for example. Look at niche celebrations. For example, in this case right here, we've got Pet Day, right? Like Pet Day is very niche, but it works well for an email or an offer as well if you wanna promote an offer that day. We've got social proof campaign, which always works, which is like testimonials, social proof, case studies, reviews, etc. We've got product focus campaigns, which is like covering all the unique selling points of your products, collections, etc., how to use them, as well as featuring some collections you have. We've got, of course, educational content, which is basically featuring blog content, influencer collabs with popular influencers. So this is more, again, educational, not as sales focused, but it works really well. Of course, we've got flash sales, obviously. Of course, we've got the evergreen campaigns like us versus them type emails, mythbusters in your industry. And then you could also use like Mail and really good emails for content inspiration. So Mail is really good one, really good emails is also very good. And then if you want to just see what a specific brand is doing, it is most likely in here. So you can just take a look at what emails they're sending and take some inspiration from that, of course. Okay. And then really good emails, which is not loading right now, but that's another big one as well, which works really well. And then of course you could also have, and this is kind of our main inspiration source, is having a swipe file in your email inbox. So you can have a folder in your Gmail account, for example, and then you subscribe to multiple like newsletters from different brands, and you can follow what they're doing, and then just take some inspiration from there as well. So that's one. And then you can also use, of course, ChatGPT. This is a pretty good prompt we use. So with the current knowledge of you have, so before sending this message right here, you need to feed the ChatGPT or Claude or whatever AI platform you're using with information about your brand, obviously, like target audience, your mission, why you sell, the main unique selling points, everything about your brand, like brand stories, etc., etc. And then after that, you can actually use this prompt right here, which is with the current knowledge you have of brand, what we sell, and our mission. Give me 10 email content ideas. Make the ideas 100% educational and not promotional. Be specific about the ideas. Don't just tell me the overarching idea. Tell me what to talk about exactly and the nitty gritty. No discount codes, no collaboration, no launches, just interesting ideas. Think about potential objections that might be preventing people from purchasing from us. The reason why we say 100% educational and not promotional is because like promotional is very easy to come up with, right? The ideas like flash sales or product focused campaigns, etc. That's pretty easy in general. But the educational ones are pretty, of course, like more creative, because you start off with educational content that's pretty interesting to the audience, that actually brings value, and then you tie it back to your product in a very smooth way, and that works really well. So that's how you come up with great content. Again, I've got some ideas here that I've covered before, but I just use the same example. So of course, Black Friday, pretty straightforward. Happy Pet Day, which is a niche celebration, a social proof campaign right here with like testimonials from people that actually use the products. And these campaigns, we actually send these like at least like a couple times a month for most clients. They work really well. They always work. And you can actually play around with the testimonials in order to potentially cover objections your audience might have. So if, for example, in this case, if someone says like, is this gonna cure my back pain? And that's gonna be the main objection people have, right? Then you can actually have a testimonial here that talks about how this actually cured their back pain, right? So, and you actually play around with the testimonials. You don't just basically toss testimonials in randomly. You have to pick them in a very precise manner. That way, again, it actually covers different objections or unique selling points of your product. Here we've got a collection feature, I think, wellness collection. So very straightforward. Here we've got a unique selling points of a specific product. So we go over the specific, like a product highlight, essentially, very straightforward as well. Here we've got like more of a educational approach, right? Here we've got a flash sale, straightforward as well. Us versus them type email here as well, pretty straightforward. And then here we've got a text-based email, which is something you can definitely utilize as well. They work really well. They're easy to produce. They just land in the inbox folder most of the time. Of course, they have better deliverability, and then it is just genuine, authentic, and it works really well, essentially, okay? So these are some of the examples here. Moving on, we've got optimizing. I don't know why I've got this here again. My bad. But essentially here we've got the third step is to make sure, besides having great content and, well, fixing your deliverability first, the third step is to make sure the content you create, the email designs, are optimized, which equals better click rates, which equals better deliverability, which equals better open rates in general, of course, right? Now, how to optimize email designs. The first things first, we have to optimize the ATF, the above default section. So people should understand the angle, the offer of the email within the first 3 seconds. So again, I've covered this, I don't know how many times in this channel, but I just cannot tell how important this is to making sure the people are able to know what the email is about when they just straight off the bat, right? That's why the above default section, so everything that comes before the first scroll of the mobile, that's the above default section, needs to be optimized and concise, and should have all the information they need to understand the email and what the email is about. So keep the first headline plus sub-headline plus CTA above default. Again, think Facebook ads. With Facebook ads, as you may know or may not know, it is, especially if you're running like videos, for example, you have to hook people in within the first 3 seconds. That's key, extremely important. Otherwise, you just lose them, right? It's pretty much the same concept here with emails. You have to hook people in as soon as possible, so they need to understand what the email is about as soon as possible. So that's why the ATF section is so important. So again, keep the first headline, subheadline plus CTA above the full section. 95% of your audience won't go through the entire email. They just skim through it. They just don't read. So that's why it is important. So tell them exactly what the email is about and what to do, hence the CTA above the fold, and that's why that's very important. So another thing which is very, very critical is making sure the fonts on the emails are large enough and that the content is optimized for mobile. What I see all the time is like for graphic-based emails, of course, the font, they don't get converted automatically because it is an image, a graphic. Sometimes on the graphic itself, they look fine, readable on desktop. But on mobile, it is extremely, extremely small and people are not able to read it. So obviously, really important, especially if graphic-based, make sure the fonts are large enough for mobile, right? Also, make sure the color contrasts are optimized and make sure the email is optimized for dark mode. Most people will actually use dark mode on their phone, so it is really important to make sure the email is optimized for dark mode as well. Add a white. So how do we optimize for dark mode? First things first, add a white outline glow to your black logo, especially if you have any background. I mean, if the logo, I'm gonna show you what these look like later, but if your logo has a transparent background, you need to add a white outline glow, otherwise it's not gonna be visible, especially if the logo is of a darker color, right? And just overall be mindful of color changes, right? And adapt your design. Like white becomes black, black becomes white. If you have a purple color, then that purple color is gonna become of a different shade of purple. And it's gonna look weird. It might or may not look weird. And that's why you have to test on your phone before sending the actual email. So before sending, I don't know how important this is, but before sending an email, make sure you test that specific email on your phone first, right? Especially because of dark mode. Sometimes like everything looks great on desktop because you don't have dark mode and the email looks beautiful, but on mobile looks like crap, right? Because of dark mode, because of the conversion of the fonts, etc., etc., etc. So take a look at the emails before sending them out, right? So got examples here. First things first is, like in this case, we can definitely see the ATF, the above result section is optimized. I took these screenshots on my phone, and as you can see here, pretty much the offer is very clear before actually needing to scroll down. I understand exactly what the email is about, and then I even have the CTA right here, which is great. Okay. Now, in this example right here, I don't understand I have no idea what the email is about, to be honest with you. Also, I hate this menu like this right here. It just takes real estate on your email, and I just don't like it whatsoever. And plus, we don't have any context as to what the email is about or any CTA right here. Plus, this is very hard to read on, again, mobile, because one, the font is weird, and two, it is very, very small. So this is not optimized whatsoever, at least for sales, right? Now here, contrast, I mean, here on desktop, it is fine. I can definitely read it. But to be honest, I couldn't read it on my phone because the contrast is not optimized, right? There are two very bright colors and it's really hard to read, right? Also, what I talked about, like when I mentioned the dark mode and having a white outline below to your logo, this is what I mean, right? This is not visible whatsoever. The logo is black and it doesn't have any background because of dark mode. So it's not visible whatsoever. So if you just add a kind of a glow to each letter, it would actually be perfect. Or add a background, or actually have cropped like use a slice on Figma, for example, where you have the logo plus a background, a white background. That way you basically override, if you will, the dark mode, and you always have the logo plus a background because it's an actual image, okay? So we don't really like dark mode, to be honest, at the agency. So what we do is we either have graphic-based emails only, so minimum HTML, body copy, etc. So that actually doesn't get converted. and it always looks great. Or two, you can utilize text-based emails as well. So like these right here, right? And these, I mean, of course they get converted, but they get converted to a dark background with white font, but it is extremely visible still. So no issues whatsoever in there. So you don't have to deal with anything related to dark mode. So either text-based or graphic-based emails only work really well for dark mode. If you don't want to deal with like dark mode and stuff like that, okay? So yeah, third step is to optimize your email designs, which equals better click rates, better deliverability, and better open rates overall. Fourth step is to segment properly. One of the reasons why you might be seeing low open rates is because the segmentation is not optimal, right? Yeah, I don't know why you have this. Now, next step is to use segmentation properly. One of the main reasons why you might be seeing low open rates is because the segmentation is not optimized, right? So why segment? Well, because more relevant content and offers to that specific segment equals more money, because segmentation equals better deliverability as well, because you have better open rates, and because segmentation equals money saved with your Klaviyo or something, whatever, because you can clean up your email list as well and just get rid of people who are not engaged anymore and are costing you money essentially. So these are the core segments you can definitely utilize and that we actually use. You don't need to overcomplicate segmentation. Honestly, like for especially this one, we actually like 80%, 90% of the emails we send are sent to this specific segment, which is of course the good old engage segment. So it could be like 15 days, 30, 60, 120, 180. The goal here is to get them over the line and make them a purchaser or a customer, right? Convert them into a paid customer. That's kind of the main goal here. And again, like 80-90% of your content should be directed to this engaged segment right here, instead of like blasting your entire email list. The second segment is to VIPs. A VIPs can be defined, depends on of course, the brand itself. There are many, I mean, it could be like, I don't know, having an AOV more than $500, having purchased more than 3, 4, 5 times, whatever it is for your brand. You have to define that. And then the goal here when sending to these people is to increase LTV further and for them to become a brand ambassador. Third segment we've got is the purchasers. Pretty straightforward. The goal here is to get them to become VIPs. And then we've got winback, the winback segment, which is people who purchase from you, but they haven't engaged with you in a while, with your brand in a while. So the goal here when sending emails to these people right here is to re-engage them, okay? Next, we've got the unengaged people. The goal here, to be honest with you, is to just basically get rid of them and clean your email list. The bottom line is don't blast your entire email list. Utilize those segments, especially again, the engaged segment should be your bread and butter and where most of your emails should be sent to, okay? Next, we've got improving your subject lines and preview text. That's how you double as well your open rates. So many strategies here. First things first, if you can get personal, of course it is better if you have that info. So first name, other numbers, item sizing, last names as well could be a nice one. Keep these subject lines and preview text relevant. Segmentation is the secret sauce, right? Make sure this content you send is actually relevant to the segment you're targeting. This is something I covered before. Sending out of context emails is a surefire way to make sure your audience feel like they're just another number, and that's something we don't want, right? And that's why, like again, segmentation becomes so important. And just tying these back to the subject lines, you have to make sure you understand them, where they are in the customer journey, and then you basically address those people through relevant offers and also like subject lines and preview text. It is all intertwined. And that's why, again, you have to understand what is the audience you're sending to, right? Now, another thing which is very important is that your subject line is your headline. Your subject line is not a summary of your email's content, right? And that's a mistake I see way too many marketers making. Your subject line's job is to entice the open, right? So try to pick their interest. The email sells a click and the landing page does the selling most of the time, right? So that's very important. Again, your subject line is your headline, is not a summary of your email's content. So if you can, be clickbaity a little bit, use curiosity, etc., etc., etc. Next step, we've got mix it up. So try these pattern breaking techniques. First things first, capitalization. Have fun with it and switch it up. Again, I've covered this before, but let's say most of your competitors are using lowercase, then use uppercase, right? Emojis, if most of your customers are not using emojis at all, use emojis sparingly, of course. I mean, don't overdo it either, of course. Depends on on your industry and your brand as well, but most likely just don't overdo it, okay? Length, if most of your competitors are using very long subject lines, very descriptive, etc., then use shorter ones, or more clickbaity. They pique their curiosity. So subject lines are very important, but of course, if all these things before are not dialed in, so like making sure your deliverability is on point, etc., and you have great content, and this doesn't really matter that much, to be honest. Finally, is you need to clean your email list regularly. So what is list cleaning? So getting rid of unengaged people from your email list in a sense. Why clean your list? Because it allows for better deliverability, sender reputation, because you have better open rates, better click rates, better unsubscribe rates, and you spend less money with your Klaviyo account, for example, right? How often depends on your email size, ideally every 1 to 3 months. So there are 2 segments that we need to create to basically clean your email list. First one is the unengaged segment, which is the main one right here. And these are the conditions right here. First one is what someone has done or not done. Received email is at least 10 overall time, and open email is 0. So 0 times in the last 90 days. Depends how aggressive you want to be. If you want to be super aggressive, you can be like 30 days, for example. What someone has done or not, and what someone has done or not done. Click email 0 times, same thing, last 90 days. And then active on site and has been active on site 0 times in the last, could be like 45, could be 90. It depends on, again, how aggressive you want to be. And then you update the segment. Well, you create the segment. And then once you create it, it is already created. You go here. You go to the segment, unengaged segment. You click on manage segment, and then you export the segment to CSV. And then you do the same thing with this segment right here, which is the bounce segment. So conditions are bounce email at least once overall time, where bounce type equals hard, or bounce email is at least 3 times overall time, where bounce type is soft. Go here, same thing, click on the segment itself, bounce segment, manage segment, export segment to CSV. You export those 2 right here, and then you go to profiles, audience profiles. You click on view suppress profiles, and then you import the 2 CSV files of the 2 segments you created. And also, before getting rid of these people, you could also create a sunset unengaged flow, which I already created a video about before. So feel free to check that out. And as a last chance for you're giving these people to engage with you, right, before deleting them from your email list. So that's pretty much it for this video. It was gonna be a long one. Hopefully it brought value to you, and hopefully you now know how to double your open rate. So thank you so much for watching. If you're running an e-commerce brand doing over 100K per month right now, and you want a reliable email marketing team to take over your email marketing, to scale your email revenue, then feel free to reach out to me. A link to my scheduler, to my calendar link, is going to be in the description box below. So feel free to book it, that works for you. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.